In this video, we're going to do more factoring of trinomials, but now we're going to do trinomials where a is not equal to 1. So in other words, we're going to have to keep the a in front of the x squared. So they're going to look like this form, ax squared plus bx plus c, but a is going to be something other than 1. So we're not going to use direct factoring this time. So what we're going to do is now we have to find two numbers that multiply to give a times c. So previously we just had to multiply to give c, but now we have to multiply to get the product of a and c. They still have to add to give b. Now we are going to rewrite. So we're going to rewrite the expression by changing the x term to the sum of whatever we found in the first step. Then we're going to factor by grouping. You'll notice that if you do enough of these, it becomes a very easy way to do this factoring. That's a very repetitive process. So the more you do, the easier it'll get. So here we want to factor 2x squared plus 11x plus 15. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to give ac. And in this case, a times c is 2 times 15, or 30. So to multiply to get 30, we can do 10 and 3. We can also do negative 10 with negative 3. We can do 6 with 5. We can do negative 6 with negative 5. We can do 15 with 2. And so on. You get the idea. You can write all the different factors. But what we need to do is find the one where we get a sum of 11 when we add them together. And so if we look at all these, 10 and 3 is 13, negative 10 and negative 3 is negative 13. 6 and 5, they add to give us 11. And there's always only going to be one option here. So these are the only factors of 30 that will add to give us 11. So what we have to do then is rewrite the 11 as 6x and 5x, or 5x and 6x, it doesn't matter which order you write them, and leave everything else the same. So we're writing the 11 as whatever terms we got over here as our factors of 30. Now we're going to factor by grouping. So the first two terms, they have a 2x in common, so that leaves x plus 3. The last two terms, they have 5, so that leaves x plus 3. And you'll notice the bracket is left as the same, and this will always happen when you're doing these correctly. So this is x plus 3 times 2x plus 5, and that's completely factored by grouping. Now that might be a bit confusing at first, but you try some on your own and you'll see that you'll get these pretty quickly. In the next one then, we have 4 as a and negative 3 as c. So a times c is negative 12. Negative 12, well, that comes from negative 4 and 3, 4 and negative 3, 6 and negative 2, negative 6 with 2, and 1 and negative 12, etc. We need one that adds to give 4, so as soon as we get that, we can actually stop. So we'll notice 6 plus negative 2 is 4. So we get 4x squared plus 6x minus 2x minus 3. So this is 4 comes from 6 and minus 2, which is what we saw there. So now we factor a common factor here. That's 2x for the first term, 2x plus 3. So when we look at the common factor then in the second two terms, we need to have a 2x plus 3 for this to work. We have minus 2x minus 3, so we're actually going to factor out a minus 1, and that leaves positive 2x plus 3. Two brackets the same, so we take the bracket in front, and what's left over is 2x minus 1. You can easily check these answers by just multiplying and expanding and making sure you get what you were asked for at the beginning. So we'll move our screen here and keep going. So we have now 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. 9 times 1 is a times c, so that's 9. 9, it has to be positive, but the minus 6, needs two things that add to give negative 6. So both terms are going to have to be negative for this to work. So it can be negative 9 and negative 1, or negative 3 and negative 3. Those are our only choices. Negative 3 plus negative 3 is obviously what gives you minus 6. So 9x squared minus 3x plus 1. We just rewrite that. Now we group these terms. So this is going to be 3x outside of x minus 1, and this is going to be minus 1 outside of 3x minus 1. And you'll notice I forgot a 3 here. When you take the 3 out, you get 3. So 3x minus 1, 3x minus 1 are the same. So 3x minus 1 is the bracket, and what's left over is also 3x minus 1. Last of example 9 then, we have 6 and 20. The fact that this one's s squared and this one's t squared and we have st in the middle is actually irrelevant. It's not changing our answer at all. So we're not even going to worry about it. We get 6 times 20 for AC, and that is 120. So now you need to figure out what factors of 120 add, or negative 120, sorry, add to give 19. So this one might be a bit more work. What do we have? We could have negative 10 and negative 12, or positive 12. And that doesn't really get anywhere close to 19. We can use 4 and 30, one of those being negative, but there's no way to make that close to 19. We can use 20 and 6 with one of those negative, but no way to get that close to 19. We could use 24 and 5, and one of those has to be negative, and if you put the negative with the 5, you can see that those do give you 19. So you really need to just work with the numbers on your calculator and see which one gives you 19. So in this case, here's our answer. So we're going to make that 24st minus 5st, and the other part stays. And then we're going to do common factors. So that's going to be 6s outside of s plus 4t. This is going to be minus 5t outside of s plus 4t. And the bracket is s plus 4t. And the leftover part is 6s minus 5t. So there's that answer. We'll keep going and do example 10. Because now we have a 1 in front of the x squared, we're going to go back to directly solving this using two brackets. So we need x and x. The signs are both minus. That tells me that I need different signs. One has to be plus, one has to be minus, because that's the only way to get a negative at the end. 6 comes from 2 and 3, or 5 and 1. Minus 6 plus 1 is minus 5, so that there's our solution. Because for this example the coefficient of the squared term is 1, we can do this directly, so we get a and a. Negative 32 with positive here means we're going to have plus and minus, and because this is plus, I know the bigger term is going to be positive. 32 is 16 times 2, so indeed if this is 16 and this is 2, we get 14 in the middle, and that's right. For the last two, we're going to factor by grouping again, so here we have AC is negative 9, negative 3 times 3. That comes from negative 9 and 1, which, if you add them together, gives negative 8. So we get 3y squared minus 9y plus 1y minus 3. Grouping these, we get 3y outside of y minus 3 plus, and we're going to write 1 outside of y minus 3, which is not really changing anything, but lets it look like it's easier. So we get the bracket is y minus 3, and we're left with 3y plus 1. The final example here then, AC is 22, 2 times 11. 22 is 11 times 2, or 22 times 1. If we add these ones, we get 13, so we're going to say 2s squared plus 11s plus 2s to get the 13 plus 11. And that's going to be a common factor for these two is just s outside of 2s plus 11. There's no common factor between 2s and 11, so we just say plus 1 outside of 2s plus 11. Brackets are the same, so 2s plus 11 outside of s plus 1. And we'll stop that lesson there. A lot of information there, a lot of practice needed to become very good at it, and I promise you it will pay off if you put the effort in now for the topics we're going to cover later. So please do as much practice as you can stomach, making sure you're getting them all right, If you are having problems, come see me, go to the Math Help Center, get help, but make sure you're getting these questions right. And we'll see you in the next lesson.